I want to talk about today what Yu-Gi-Oh! / Konami sell at the moment in terms of merchandise outside of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, what you guys would want for them to sell, and I just don't know, I just thought we could have a little discussion video on this and you guys could tell me in the comment section below if you think Konami is selling the things you want them to sell, or if there's even a demand for it, basically. So first of all, what brought this question on in my mind? Well, recently I went to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Community Day event at the Konami headquarters, and we got a little swag bag because recently Yu-Gi-Oh! Has partnered with a company called Fanatic, which I think I've got their name right, and they have a couple new Yu-Gi-Oh! Products. So I thought, how about we look at these so we can see some of the items that are available outside of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that are actually endorsed by Konami officially, I guess, because another question that I want to answer today is how much of sort of Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff is official stuff, because I'm just going to give one example. One of the most important things I think you can get with Yu-Gi-Oh! I'd say the top two, card sleeves, right? And maybe like a binder. Like outside of the core cards, these are like two of the biggest ones. Maybe a mat. And I'm curious if Konami has a place where you can buy all these different things. I know you can get a couple mats from some of like the boxes that they buy, some Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, they come with them. You can get like the card ones. I remember when I bought the Orichalco set, you got an Orichalco sort of cardboard board kind of thing. But for the time being, let's take a look at the Fanatic items that we've got. We'll look at each one. We'll just see what we think away. So we just go at random. We got a bunch of different ones. First one we got is this limited edition Millennium Puzzle replica. So they're only going to make a few of these. I think this is going to be a limited time run. But taking a little bit more of a closer look at this, I'd love to know what you think. Is this something that you would be interested in? The next item we have is this Yu-Gi-Oh! Limited edition pin badge with Seto Kaiba on there. It's a pin. You can pin it to your clothes, you can pin it to your backpack for stuff. I can see a few people quite liking this, especially with Seto Kaiba on. But it's quite an old image of Kaiba, it looks like. But it is numbered on the back, so you can actually have like a unique number to these ones. 9,995 of these, and we've got one of them. On the flip side of the Seto Kaiba pin badge, we also have this Yami Yugi limited edition pin badge, numbered from 9,995 of these. We also have this Fanatic limited edition keyring, which is of course the Millennium Eye. Another necklace that we have here is this Kuribo limited edition as well. Oh, so every single item in this is numbered as well, so they're all unique. The Kuribo on this one is the Japanese Kuribo, I think. That's why it's purple. Don't quote me on that one, but I think that's true. But that is another one of the necklaces. And the last Fanatic item that is being sold at the moment is this Yu-Gi-Oh! Game Flip coin, which I actually think is my favourite one out of all these, because this actually does have some practical use. The back says it's time to duel, and it has the Yu-Gi-Oh! Logo on, which is pretty awesome. And the other side, which I'm assuming is the head, because it has Yu-Gi-Oh! On. Yu-Gi-Oh! Game Flip, cool. Start every duel with the Game Flip coin. I'm curious to see what you guys think of these in the comments section below. Would any of you particularly like some of these items? Are these an interesting draw to any of you? Or are some of them just like, not really what you kind of look for in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Accessory? Because my next question becomes, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Merchandise, outside of the core game of course, what do people look for? What do people want? Well, I think for me personally, statues and figurines are quite a big one. If you're a collector, or you're just a big fan of a certain series, I think having a physical figure of something is really good. And I have seen some really good Yu-Gi-Oh! Figurines. And also when I went to that Yu-Gi-Oh! Konami events, they have basically a bunch of shelves with all different types of merchandise they have on there. They tend to change it up every year that we go down, but for this year you can see that there are some figurines on here as well as a Yusei dual runner and things, and you got lots of little different things here, which I think are really awesome. But I didn't know these things existed, and I'm not too sure where to get them from really, because if, for example, I go on the official Yu-Gi-Oh! Website and I look on here, we have an option for products right here. I click on products, and it's only really the booster boxes and decks and stuff that I can find. It doesn't really link to any of their other stuff, so I don't know all these other things. I'm guessing they're just like lending the license to other people, lend the license for other people to make, but you'd think that maybe they'd sell them on the main website and things. I don't think the merchandise is too easy to find, because for example, I went on Argos and I typed in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the only thing that came up was Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution for the Nintendo Switch. I mean, would we class this as merchandise? I'm guessing so. A video game tie-in, this is what people want a lot of. If anything, I would like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Rule competitive PC game that has the latest cards. Like, literally, Dragon Maids have come out. I would want those on there and things. So I could play against people online. Very similar to that of Yu-Gi-Oh! Dawn of a New Era. That, but like, you know, proper. like official one. But you do have like Yu-Gi-Oh tie-ins. For example, Dungeon Dice Monsters. This is the Dungeon Dice Monsters Japanese starter box. Remember when Dungeon Dice Monsters were a thing? This was great. I do think they do a Yu-Gi-Oh Monopoly, I think a Yu-Gi-Oh Monopoly exists. If I say Yu-Gi-Oh Dungeons and Dragons, is that in high demand? But but getting back to what I was talking about earlier, figurines I think is a big one. And a couple do exist outside of like realistic looking ones. We do have pop figures. So I'm assuming that the Pop Animation company licenses these. So we've got things like the Dark Magician Girl. We have Seto Kaiba. We also have That's Goku, but I just realized I don't have Yugi. You can get a Yugimoto and I think a Blue Eyes White Dragon. But other than that, I don't know if you can get any of other stuff. I've seen in game a few times you can get some Yu-Gi-Oh monster figurines as well. One of the biggest things I think Konami has sold that I feel like were really successful, based on the fact that if I go on Amazon now and try to find the actual physical dual discs, they're almost impossible to get. I used to have a Yu-Gi-Oh dual disc back when I was younger, and I sold it ages ago, and I wish I didn't now because I have a channel now and it would have been great to do loads of different things with that. But that was really great. It was something from the series that people had always wanted, and I always wanted to duel like that. It was impractical, I will admit. It was poorly designed to a degree because you couldn't have sleeves on them, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like a second take at that would have been quite cool to see. I know they've done a Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's version, a Silivori Calcos version. If they've done any more after that, I don't know. However, recently, a company called Proplica made a dual disc for adults. It is more for display, however, it does work like a proper dual disc. But the more important part is the fact that you can put cards with sleeves on it now, which is great. And it is like adult size, like a full scale version. The only problem with that is it's hella expensive, which is like, fair enough, that's for collectors. I would have bought one as well, but it had to come all the way from Japan, and now it's like extremely overpriced because everyone's bumping up the prices. Regardless, that I think is Proplica getting lent the licenses for that as well. But I think part of the problem is, I think if you're in Japan or America, you can actually get a lot of this stuff a lot easier. Whereas if you're in Europe, the UK, I think it's a bit harder. For example, another thing that I actually don't have anything of, the only thing I ever had was in one of my loot anime crates a long time ago. I got some Millennium Puzzle Yu-Gi-Oh socks, which I actually quite liked, but unfortunately they ripped, so I can't use them anymore. But clothing, you don't see too much of with Yu-Gi-Oh! Or at least I don't. Or at least the stuff I do see, it's a bit, I don't want to say the word cheap, but like, it's just a simple image from the series. There's no real like creativeness gone into it, which I think is a little bit of a shame because there's some really talented people that make like the artworks and things. I found another website which I think is based in America that actually sells some Yu-Gi-Oh merch, which is very creative and new. I have no idea if these are official products or not, but regardless, I think these look really awesome. This Have a Merry Blue Eyes White Christmas or something like that. That t-shirt is really awesome, and the specs for the dual disc. I assume these must be licensed items and things. I feel like Konami's gonna watch this video, see all these things like, we'll need to shut all these down. If that's the case, I'm so sorry. But the point is, all these different websites, this shop Yu-Gi-Oh, the Fanatic website, and the Good Smile Company, they've got all these different things. I just wish they were all together. I wish I could see them all in one place, because I've had to search and really look around to kind of find these things. But if you could just go on the Yu-Gi-Oh official website, go on that little products button, click on that, and it takes you to kind of like their official store. That would be awesome. That is something that I really would hope Konami aspires to do. Yeah. So what I want to ask all you guys is, what do you think of the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh merchandise? Do you think there's enough of it? Do you think there's not enough of it? What are the kind of things you would want to see? Would you like to see more Yu-Gi-Oh clothing for you to buy? Would you like to see more figurines? Would you like to see more dual discs make a comeback? Get me some solid Vision Arc 5 dual discs. That would be pretty damn awesome. I don't know. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section below. The things that I always wanted, I would say my top 3 would be a realistic dual disc, as close to realism as you can get. That kind of exists with the Proplica dual disc. Probably more figurines you can get. Again, a couple of these do exist, and there's some really good ones you can find online. And I guess the third one would be some sort of like collectible things, like a framed Egyptian gods or something like that, or like the Egyptian god cards made out of like metal or things like that, just like things from the show that you have a nostalgia for that you could prey on people like me for that would definitely buy. But yeah, guys, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening to me ramble for a little while I sit in my chair.